KAKU.
In exactly 15 seconds, we'll be on the air.
KAKU 88.5 FM.
Okay, here we go.
Kahului, Maui.
Quiet, please.
The voice of Maui.
Welcome to The Nature of Your Nature. Come home to You Know More with Dr. Valerie Simonson on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui, broadcasting from Akaku Maui Community Media Center in downtown Kahului. Aloha, everyone. Welcome to The Nature of Your Nature. I'm Dr. Valerie Simonson, and I'm so honored that you're here with us today. We're being sponsored by the nonprofit You Know More, which is a nonprofit dedicated to first responders, healthcare providers, educators, and community leaders. That's probably you if you look at yourself. So today we have one of my favorite people, of course. Again, we get Harriet Witt. Thank you, Harriet, for coming in and being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's wonderful.
Yeah, we've done a really, really great job of setting up the understanding of colonization, the pavement. The last week you talked about you're the little, what did you call yourself?
I'm a stubborn little weed of a thing pushing up through a crack in the pavement.
Yeah, and every one of you is that little weed pushing up through that pavement and making a difference in the world in some way, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm not the only one. I mean, I look around, I see a lot of little weeds pushing up through cracks in the pavement.
Yeah.
And the cracks are spreading and widening into a network of cracks.
Yeah.
And that network is basically what we're celebrating here.
Yeah, and I love that you brought in the network of cracks, because right now that's what it's all about. We need to collaborate.
Yes, yes.
You know, Noi with Maui Medic, she does XYZ. Valerie with You Know More does QRN. And as we all come together, it's a beautiful dance, yeah?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, for a long time I thought I was the only one pushing up through a crack in the pavement. And then I realized,
Wow.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we're going to look at some practical things that people can bring into their lives, utilize in their life.
Right.
And the one thing that the name of our program is The Nature of Your Nature, which is you are nature, right? Our DNA is 65% the same as a banana. We are 75% water. Let's play with all of this. So I love how you always open things up with, you ask a good question.
Well, I just find that the answers I get in life are only as good as the questions I ask. And in school, nobody told me how to cultivate a fruitful question. So fortunately, school was a long time ago. I've had decades to learn how to cultivate a fruitful question. And so I find that in terms of how do we practically keep on reaching up through our cracks in the pavement, and how do we practically continue to network with one another, I think one thing we can do is ask questions. And one of the questions I find particularly helpful, this is just because I've been teaching astronomy since 1980. There's plenty of other questions that would be equally helpful, but because I've been teaching astronomy since 1980, the question would be, when you wake up in the morning, you're aware that something is happening over there in the east. You know, I'm assuming you wake up more or less, assuming you're not waking up at noontime. Okay. Right. And so the question would be, face east, and you see the sun over there, or at least the sunlight, and then ask yourself the question, is the sun really rising? Because we've all been taught in school that the sun rises and sets. And when you ask yourself the question, is the sun really rising? Something in you will say, oh, no, the earth is rotating me toward the sun, or the earth is spinning me toward the sun. The sun just appears to be rising because I'm viewing it from a moving planet. So starting with that question, is the sun really rising? Then the next thing you realize once you get that the sun is not rising, then you realize, oh, I'm on a moving planet. And we don't generally talk in those terms. It's not part of our social vocabulary.
Right.
Okay, but the realization, oh, I'm on a moving planet, there's a dynamism that starts coming in here. The idea that the sun rises and sets is not dynamic, it's static. As long as we say that the sun rises and the sun sets, we're effectively living on a motionless earth at the center of the whole universe. We're speaking languages 500 years out of date.
500 years out of date. Well, let's get up to date, shall we?
Yes, exactly. So all we have to do is introduce a new term.
Ooh, I like new terms.
A new term and a movement exercise.
Okay.
The term I'm borrowing from Buckminster Fuller. Buckminster Fuller was the person who, as far as I know, first pointed out that our language is centuries obsolete. I mean, we've known for, as I said, approximately 500 years now that the Earth is not flat and that it's not motionless at the center of the whole universe with everything going around us. But our language still conveys the idea that we're on a motionless earth and everything in the universe goes around us. Well, if that isn't colonial mentality, I don't know what is.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's all about me. It's all about me.
Exactly,
right?
exactly, yeah. So Buckminster Fuller is one of my heroes. I got to meet him at Emory University.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah. Delightful guy. I didn't meet him personally. I was in a group of about 30 people, and we were invited to sit with him on the floor in a carpeted classroom at Emory University. He sat on a chair because he was pretty old, but he was just delightful. Anyway, he said, instead of calling it sunrise, let's call it sunsight, S-I-G-H-T.
Sunsight.
Because that's really what's happening. The sun is coming into sight. I mean, we're acknowledging what we see, but we're not labeling it from a static perspective.
Right.
Yeah. And what I've kind of added on to this, and mostly what I've added on to this is movement, because when you were in school, let me just ask you a question. When you were in school, did they show you diagrams of the Earth spinning around its axis every 24 hours?
I have to be really honest. I don't remember.
Okay, you don't remember. Okay, well, because I do these stargazing cruises every Saturday on the boat, and that's one of the things I ask people on the boat. When you were in school, did they show you diagrams of the Earth spinning around? Because on the boat, when I lead the cruise, I ask people, what's happening over there in the west? And they all say the sun is going down. And then I ask them, is the sun really going down? And I can see the looks on their faces like, oh, ah.
Right.
So anyway, and I ask, when you were in school, did they show you diagrams of the Earth spinning around its axis every 24 hours? And people always say, yeah, we saw those diagrams. And then I ask, did they show you diagrams of the Earth orbiting the sun every year? And yeah, we saw those diagrams. And then I ask you, what was missing from those diagrams? Different people say different rather abstract things. What was missing from the diagram is you. You're along for the ride. You're on an incredible cosmic journey. This planet is moving. We won't go into all the details of that, but you're along for the ride. But you'd never know that from the language we're speaking. And so I developed a movement to help people actually feel that you're a passenger on the only planet in the known universe that supports human life. This isn't just any planet. This is the only planet in the known universe that supports human life. So if we can align with the only planet in the known universe that supports human life, that might be helpful. So the exercise that I developed, and it's very much inspired by hula, because I know that hula is not just entertainment. It's a way that Hawaiian people traditionally transmitted knowledge to other people.
Right.
It's been it's been marginalized as entertainment, but it's not what anyway, so the exercise is go out at dawn, or as close to dawn as you can, and face east. And as you face east, arc your body, your entire body, arc your body forward. Okay, and I can't demonstrate here in this seat, but arc your entire body forward, your spine forward. And as I arc my body forward, I'm doing that to model the roundness of the Earth. I'm also arcing my body forward to model the spinning of the Earth, because the Earth is spinning eastward, okay? And I'm pointing with my fingers to demonstrate that the Earth is spinning eastward at 1,000 miles an hour, okay? And I go, Pardon me, I'm pointing eastward to demonstrate the direction of the spin. I'm pointing with my index finger, pointing the direction of the spin. And then I like to go whoosh, just as a reminder that we're spinning that way at 1,000 miles an hour. Okay?
Wow, that's fast.
And so what I find is if you actually go outside and do that at dawn, and do it, several days in a row, okay? And it's fun to do it with a group of people. We did that in your,
Right.
You start to feel in your body, whoa, I'm on a cosmic journey. And we're all on a cosmic journey. But if we don't feel it in our body, if it isn't a somatic experience, it's just kind of trippy.
Yeah.
And everybody loves the word cosmic, but for the most part, it's just trippy. It doesn't, if we don't actually feel it in our, if we don't have the
Right.
somatic experience of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I call the east-facing Earth roll, for lack of a better term. And I'm very pleased with the results. I mean, I've shared it with a lot of people, and I can see something shifts when people realize, whoa, I'm on a moving planet.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I'm going back to Buckminster Fuller again, because he observed back in the 60s that the language is way obsolete, and words are the containers into which we pour our thoughts. So if we're using the wrong words, our thinking is distorted or misshapen or compromised in some way. So I can see why Buckminster Fuller says it's important to have a new word to replace the word sunrise. Okay,
Right.
and then he also came up with a new word to replace the word sunset.
Oh, good. When is that?
The word that he came up with is sunclipse, as in eclipse.
Oh.
And at first, this is a little hard to understand if you're indoors, as we are in this tiny little studio here. But if you're outdoors at the end of the day and you're facing, the glow of the sun over there on the western horizon, then it's possible to feel that the earth ball under our feet is eclipsing the sun. And I use the term earth ball because most people experience the earth as being flat. I mean, we've all seen photographs of the earth in space, and that photograph shows, the little blue marble in space. But in my experience, even though everybody has seen photographs of blue marble in space, many photographs, we don't seem to bring that into our personal lives.
Right.
We still talk as if the earth were flat. That's why when I ask people, on the boat, on my cruise, I ask people what's happening over there in the west. They don't say the earth is back rolling us away from the sun. They say the sun is going down. So clearly they experience the earth as being flat. Anyway, so Buckminster Fuller said, instead of saying that the sun is setting or going down, use the term sunclipse, because the earth ball under our feet is literally eclipsing the sun. That's why you don't see the sun at some point there, is the earth ball under our feet eclipses the sun. And so sunclipse is a lot trippier than sunsight,
Yeah.
the terms.
Right.
But it really captures, it makes you stop and think.
Well, one of the things that we can do after we're all done here is we can actually put that in our description for the YouTube channel.
Oh,
which would,
okay.
then people would have a better understanding of that, because that is a lot of information if you've never heard it before.
Also, it's challenging in this tiny studio.
Oh,
Because
totally.
you and I have had the experience of being outdoors with
Right.
people and sharing it with people, and we see what happens.
Right. And even though all the times that I've experienced it, I still kind of get lost in it. And I want to bring up, I saw this the other day, words don't have a soul. And that's
Interesting, yeah.
why some people don't have a good relationship with reading, because there's no depth to it. It's just a word
Right,
that has
right,
been handed down
right,
for 500 years because this is what this word means, right?
right, right.
And what you're sharing here is that the word that with the what did you call it? The sun
Sunclipse,
sun and the at dawn.
sunsight.
sun sight of the senses. Of the senses, right? And if it's from our senses, our vision,
Yes.
our smell, taste, hearing, if we can actually experience it in our body in some way,
Right.
that gives it its soul.
Totally. Oh, I like what you're saying. Okay, tying it into the words have no soul, but we can give the word soul. Okay. Well, let me take it a step farther.
Great.
Two things are coming to my mind. Let me demonstrate what I like to share with people at the end of the day, after we've acknowledged the fact that the sun only appears to be setting because we're viewing it from a rotating planet. And then I share with people, okay, let's call this sunclipse instead of sunset. And then I have them all face, the glow of the sun over there in the west. And I have them demonstrate what I call back rolling away from the sun.
Right.
Because back rolling away from the sun is what's really happening as you're facing the sun over there on the western horizon. And back rolling away from the sun involves arcing your spine to model the roundness of the earth, arcing your spine to model the spinning of the earth, pointing with your thumb to show the direction of the spin, spinning eastward, and then going whoosh to demonstrate that, or remind everybody that we're spinning that way at 1,000 miles an hour. I can remember one time when I did this with a group of people. It was a Girl Scout troop with the parents there.
Oh, cool.
And we were up in Kula, where you have a beautiful view of the sun is just over the ocean there. And we all back rolled away from the sun a few times. And one of the parents turned around and said to me, the end of the day will never be the same for me again.
Wow.
He got it. I could say he got it. Ooh,
Wow.
So going back to what you were saying about the somatic experience giving soul to words, when we back roll away from the sun, and I like that word back rolling away from the sun because it's somatic.
Yeah.
The term sunclipse isn't quite somatic. It's
Right.
kind of intellectual. It's
Right, it
correct.
is. Yeah.
But it's kind of
Right.
kind of intellectual. Back rolling away from the sun is more somatic. Yeah. And as I've been thinking about my experience of sharing this with people and watching the effect that it has on people, I realized, the reason we didn't understand this in school is because in school they showed us the diagrams of the Earth spinning and orbiting, but we were sitting perfectly still in a school desk
Right.
while we were looking at those diagrams.
Yeah.
Well, how are you gonna get motion if you have to sit still? You
Right.
can't understand motion if you have to sit still.
Right.
So there's two issues here with the way we were taught in school. Number one is you have to sit still at a desk. How could you possibly understand motion if you have to sit at a desk all day? And number two is the diagram that shows the Earth spinning around its axis every 24 hours and orbiting the center. The diagram is it's just a little uninhabited billiard ball. The Earth isn't an uninhabited billiard ball. It's alive. It's got people on it, and animals, and plants, and fungi, and we're all along for the ride. You know?
Yeah. And your website is called Passenger Planet.
Passenger Planet, yeah.
.com.
Yeah. That's why I called it that, because I realized somehow, and I'm not criticizing the schools, everybody's just doing the best they can, but there's room for improvement.
Right.
People haven't gotten that we're passengers on this planet.
Well, I sure am still integrating that, and I will share that when as we've been recovering from the fires out here on Maui, and there's been so much what we call dissociation out of our body.
Oh, right.
I witnessed with a group of people that we were working on with, and you were speaking, I watched them land.
Oh,
in
land.
their body.
That's a nice way to put it. Yes.
And
yes.
then we work with time, which we're not going to work with time today, but we are going to stay with that whole aspect that this is your body, this is where you live, and you're on this planet, you're spinning 1,000 miles an hour.
Well, the Earth is rotating us around her axis at 1,000. It's 1,000 miles an hour if you're at the equator. If you're at the North Pole or the South Pole, you're just going around in circles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we have to kind of factor that in there. But we're pretty close to the
Right.
equator here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a lot of movement. But going back to somatics, if you don't know what somatics is, that means of the cells, right? A cellular experience.
Right.
And that's where we bring back the soul to the words.
Right.
Right.
That's beautiful. I hadn't thought about that. Yes. Right. Well, I'm thinking also about the fact that the origins of human speech are very closely interrelated with the origins of chanting and drumming and singing, and that's very somatic.
It
I mean,
is.
when somebody chants, the goosebumps you get when.
Totally.
Can you remember the first time you ever heard a Hawaiian person chant?
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Talk about the soul coming back into.
Right. The tears
Whoa!
just come
The
out
tears.
of the
Oh my
eye.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first time I heard a Hawaiian person chant, I'm sitting in a ballroom in some hotel in Wailea, which is kind of disconnected from nature. But some Hawaiian person got up there and started to chant. Next thing I know, I'm just crying my eyes out.
Yeah.
Oh, and chills and
Yeah. I remember a story at the hospital. Papa Ka'alakea, he was a kahuna, he could touch the blind and they could see, and the crippled could walk. And there was someone in the ICU, and at that time, it was right over the ER.
Oh.
And this doctor was telling me that he was up chanting, doing the prayers, the pule,
Oh, right.
and the building was shaking.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And that person woke up. Papa actually told me a story about that. They just woke up. Right? Yeah. And we all are waking up. We're all waking up as we have been given this space. COVID was a real gift in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Because it stopped the world. It stopped so many things.
Right.
So then we had that time to reflect and to remember who
Yes,
we really are.
yes.
And return to that, just like the dolphins did in Italy, into the canals, right? We're returning to our waters, our truths.
Right.
And then how do we say it? How do we show it? That's original for everybody.
Yes.
But as we remember the nature of our nature, we are the mountain. We are the water. We are the rivers. We are the trees. We're all made of different compositions, but it's all the same stardust and the seeds, and we're all one. Yeah.
Yes. On the molecular level, there's no species. A molecule of glucose, for example, behaves like a molecule of glucose, whether it's in your body or in the body of a cockroach or a camel or a polar bear.
Wow.
And same thing with every other molecule. The molecules just behave however they behave. They don't care whose body they're in.
Wow.
So just on the molecular level, yeah.
I want to bring it back to whose body we're in. And I know I've spent a lot of my life trying to be in my body.
Right. Yeah.
Because of childhood traumas and things like that. It's very easy for me just to leave.
Me too. Yeah.
And so, and there's probably a few of you out there that are listening too, have that experience of disassociation or whatever you want to call that. But it also is a safety mechanism. And,
yes. And it works in the short run.
It does.
Right,
It does.
right.
And then there's other gifts, like I know for myself, I'm a visionary. I can see a lot of things. Well, that was because of my childhood. I had to look. I had to
see.
constantly watching to make sure that I stayed safe.
Oh,
right?
I see. Okay, I see.
Yeah. But today we're going to play more with these bodies, this place where we live, you live, right? Where you live right now is in this body, and your connection with the earth, the sun, the moon. It's a beautiful dance.
Yes, it's a dance. It really is a dance. Yeah. And also when you say your connection with the sun and the moon, I'm reminded of something because you're sharing this in the context of coming home to our indigenous knowledge and our indigenous connection to nature. When indigenous people talk about the sun or the moon, they don't talk about the sun as an object in the sky, and they're not talking about the moon as an object. They're talking about the cycle. For example, if you look at old cowboy movies, you often hear the Native American person in the cowboy movie says, well, many moons ago, thus and such happened, you know, or thus and such happened many moons ago. When he's saying many moons ago, he means many moon cycles ago. He's not talking about the moon as an object, you know, because indigenous people are paying attention to the cycle of the moon. They're outdoors. And speaking of indigenous, I mean, you know, for the initial 99% of our human existence, we were hunter-gatherers. No matter what ethnicity we were all hunter-gatherers for the initial 99% of our human existence. As hunter-gatherers, we looked to the sky as our clock, we looked to the sky as our compass, we looked to the sky as our calendar, and we all knew how to read it. Today, nobody knows how to look to the sky as your calendar or your clock or your compass. Going back to many moons ago, when the Indian in the cowboy movie says many moons ago, he's talking about moon cycles ago, because he's observing the sky and he sees the cycle and he knows the cycle and he feels the cycle. Similarly, when a menstruating woman in a Native American culture, when a woman is menstruating, they say she's on her moon. That doesn't mean she's sitting on the moon. It means she's at the point in the lunar cycle where, you know, so that's just kind of one of the things that we could do in terms of, you talk about practical things we can do. Pay attention to the moon.
Pay attention to the
and
moon.
pay attention to the sun so that you get a feeling for the cycle. And instead of just thinking of the moon as an object in the sky or just thinking of the sun as an object in the sky.
And the moon is in charge of the tides, right? It influences the tides. Well, we're 75% water, right, as humans. The moon is influencing us.
Absolutely.
And so that term lunatic comes from the full moon, because that energy, you want to play a little more with that? What's happening?
Well, when the moon is full, it's on the opposite side of us from the sun. And I should back up and say what we call the full moon is no more full than it ever is. Because if you take a moment to think about it, the moon is a round ball. It's a sphere. And in the presence of the sun, one side of it is illuminated and one side of it is not illuminated. Because that's true of any sphere in the presence of a source of light. One side is illuminated and the other side is not illuminated. The only reason that we on Earth are not immediately aware of that or always aware of that is because the moon is orbiting us. And sometimes we see all of her sunny side. Sometimes we see none of her sunny side, which means we don't see it at all. And sometimes we see like a sliver of the sunny side. So I think I can best answer your question by just asking you to be the sun. We'll pretend that you're the sun.
Okay, I'll be the sun.
And I'll be the earth. We'll let the moon go. Yeah. Okay. When the moon, so you're the sun, and here's the moon, and I'm the earth. Okay. When the moon is here, the illuminated side of it is facing away from us here on Earth, and so we don't see the moon. We call that the dark of the moon, and lasts about 3 days. Some people also call it the new moon.
Right.
New moon, dark of the moon, same thing. But then after a few days, the moon moves around, and then I start to say, well, there's a little sliver of the illuminated side, you know? And then I see more of a sliver and more of a sliver. And then over here, I see a quarter as a 90-degree angle. You know, I see a quarter. It's called the first quarter moon. And I'm seeing half of the lit half. Okay. And eventually, the moon gets to be on the opposite side of us from the sun. And now I can see all of the illuminated half. But it's still, from the moon's perspective, it's always 50% illuminated. But when the moon is quote unquote full, it's on the opposite side of us from the sun. And that opposition is the powerful energy. That there's a geometry there. We're coming back to the geometry. Geometry seems like it has nothing to do with our lives, but it does. It actually does. You just don't realize it because the way our academic world has things separated into cubbyholes and categories and silos. Okay. So anyway, when the moon's on the opposite side of us from the sun, we say, oh, that moon's full, you know. And that 180-degree angle, that opposition, is called syzygy, S-Y-Z-Y-G-Y.
Oh, yeah.
I love that word, syzygy. And that opposition is powerful. And that's why the tides are higher and people go crazy. Because the 180-degree angle can be a positive experience or a negative experience depending on whether we understand the dynamic and work with the dynamic. If we understand that the 180-degree angle is it's a really good stretch. It's like a really good yoga stretch, and
Right.
yeah, it's time to stretch. But if people don't realize that this is time to stretch, then what they experience is tugging, pulling, snap. And when they snap, oh dear, that's when they hit somebody else on the head or shoot somebody else or lose it, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know if I answered your question, but.
Yeah, and I think that what's important is that we understand in our bodies,
Yeah.
this place where we live, is 75% water.
Right. Hence the tides.
And so that moon is influencing our tides.
Yep.
And they call it lunatic, they call it crazy, they call it all kinds of things. That basically what I've seen through my years of service is that at that time is when people are getting really clear.
Yes.
That this isn't what I'm going to do anymore. You know, I've been working this 8 to 6 job, 48 hours a week and driving 2 hours both ways. And they go, I'm not going to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. It's a time of incredible clarity.
Yes. Yeah. Because the tension is so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That something's got to give.
Something's got to give. We get to
Yeah.
face ourselves, which is the face of the moon.
Right.
Right? We're facing the moon.
Right.
And we get to face ourselves.
Yes.
And that isn't always so easy when we haven't learned perhaps what our needs are.
Right.
Or that even that it's safe to say anything. We haven't experienced that.
Right.
But COVID, and then the last few years on top of COVID,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are speaking. Not only speaking, but they're moving in the world in a very fascinating, creative way.
Yes. Speaking of moving, you just reminded me. One thing I find is really helpful with the full moon. As long as we understand that what we're calling the full moon is when the sun is the sun and the moon are on opposite sides of us.
Right.
Okay, so if you go outside at the end of the day, at the time of the full moon, you'll see, okay, the sun's over there, moon's over there. At the full moon, you always see the moon appearing to rise at the same time that the sun is appearing to set. Or in the next morning, you'll see the sun appearing to set at the same time that the moon is appearing to rise. And if you physically extend your arms so that you are bodily reenacting that 180-degree angle and move into it and dance it and sing it and drum it and, whatever, so that you experience the tension creatively and not just as discomfort.
Beautiful.
Well, the fine line between genius and madness.
That's right.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at here. So if you go out there, a couple days before the moon is quote unquote full, and then watch the actual day of the full, 180-degree angle, and feel it and feel the tugging and the pulling and know that it's just the nature of your nature. It's not that something is going wrong. It's just the nature of your nature. Then you can be in the tension in a way that feels creative rather than agonizing.
Yeah, it's happening with us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Thank you.
Rather than to us.
Yes. Thank you. Because we're not separate from. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's happening with us, not to us. Thank you.
That's what we get to really understand with this whole thing that we're talking about, the nature and
Yes.
nature. These are opportunities for us
Yes.
to return. And life can be so simple when we go back to the awareness, our breath, connection.
Right.
Okay, take that view. Oh, yeah. And I like the moon calendars.
Yes.
Even for male. Female, it's really great. You can keep track of your moon time, your period time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I used that for years and very, very helpful. It helps stabilize the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
But every day, if we can just take those few minutes, which I know it's not easy. When you've got a family, like right now I'm babysitting a dog. And this morning I'm like, okay, I'm going to be out of here, but not what the dog wanted, right? it's like, okay, well, that list is going to have to wait until tomorrow because
Right.
life changed.
Yes. I love what you're saying. It's not happening to us, it's happening with us.
Yeah,
That's huge.
with us.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of another example of words are the containers into which we pour our thoughts. If you pour your
Yeah.
thoughts into a with container, the experience is very different.
Yeah, and I heard somebody say the other day when that term, it's happening for you.
Mm-hmm. It's an
That
opportunity.
it is an opportunity, but it was pointed out to me that that tragedy of Maui or what's happening in Montana or any place in the world right now, it isn't for you. It's not here to for you.
I see what
It's
you're
an
getting at.
experience that we're having,
Right.
right?
Right.
And to use they call it the spiritual bypass, this is happening for you. Well, it's with you.
I like
And
the
it
with. Yeah.
all
yeah.
is an experience. Life is an experience. But we can have more ease and grace when we connect to, oh, there's the sun. Oh, there's the moon. Oh, there's my breath.
Mm-hmm.
Or lack of. Right?
Mm-hmm. When you just said, oh, there's the sun and there's the moon, it reminded me of something else that I find is fun and helpful. At the end of the day, as you're watching the sun appear to go down, it's fun to think about the people on the opposite side of the earth who are watching the sun appear to come up. And that makes you visualize the earth as a whole ball. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember in science, I don't remember which class it was, they were talking about the air that I'm breathing. Someone in India has breathed that air as well.
Right, those molecules
Yeah,
just
those
keep
molecules-
circulating.
Yeah, that is so fascinating. We are all sharing.
Right. And same thing with the water and yeah, it's constantly being recycled. Yeah. Also, am I interrupting if I...
Nope, the big
Did you have
pauses
something?
are there for you.
Okay, well, when you were earlier when you were talking about the moon cycle, and you mentioned that, there's a bit of a problem here because we use the word moon cycle, and we use words like lunar, but there's another term that is really much better, which is Moonth.
Right.
And many people don't realize this is an actual word. One moonth is how long the moon takes to go around us. Okay. And when I use the word moonth, people usually giggle. But one moonth is how long the moon takes to go around us. Okay. And it's roughly 28, 30 days. It varies a little bit from one cycle to the next. But the word moonth, originally, our calendar months were actual moonths.
Right.
Okay, I'm going back to words here, and the language, and the fact that our language has gotten garbled and the words have lost their soul. Okay, so originally our calendar months were actual moonths, which is the time that the moon takes to go around us. And a moonth is a powerful, powerful cycle because it's what's governing the tides, it's what's regulating the tides, and all of the feeding in the ocean is regulated by that monthly cycle tides, and all of the breeding in the ocean is regulated by the monthly
Right.
tides. So the actual month is a powerful cycle. And the earth, as you said, is 75% water. So a month is just incredibly powerful thing. Okay, so originally our calendar months were actual months, but then Julius Caesar invented July, named it July after himself, Julius, stuck it into the calendar. Caesar Augustus invented August, named it August after himself, Augustus, stuck that in the calendar. So now the calendar is all messed up. Now September is the 9th month, but if you know Latin, you know SEPT means 7. October is now the 10th month, but if you know Latin, you know that OCT, as in octagon, means 8. November is now the 11th month. This one's not as well known, but if you're a Roman Catholic, you know that a novena is a 9-day prayer. December is, everybody knows December is the 12th month, but we also know DEC, as in decade and decimal, means 10. So the calendar got all messed up when Julius Caesar and Caesar Augustus just invented July and August and stuck them in there. And now we have these months that correspond to nothing in the natural world. They're just totally artificial constructs, total fabrications. But we're scheduling our lives by them. That's not the nature of our nature. No. And that's why it's going back to what you were saying earlier about watch the moon. Not just the moon as an object, but watch. Well, for example, if you watch the moon, you'll see it moves one hand width every 24 hours. Okay? That's a really easy thing you can do. Make sure your arm is straight when you're measuring. If your elbow is bent, that's not going to work. But, you can make note of where the moon is on any given evening and make note of where it is relative to the backdrop of stars, because you need some kind of a stationary backdrop. Okay? And then you'll notice if you go out the next night, you'll see the moon is one hand width to the east of where it was the previous night, and and that way you'll get a feeling in your body, because it's your own hand, for what a moonth is, so there's something I was going to say about the calendar that we're working with today is made up of these months that correspond to nothing in the natural world. They're total fabrications. Fortunately, there are still cultures that have real moonths in their calendar.
Yes.
The Hebrew culture still has a monthly calendar. That's why the Hebrew New Year is not the same date every year. And the Chinese calendar still has moonths in it. That's why the Chinese New Year is the second new moon after the winter solstice. So that's why the date fluctuates. The calendar that we use in the Western world doesn't pay any attention to the moon. It only pays attention to our relationship with the sun, so that date is fixed. Fortunately, the Hawaiian moon calendar is awesome. They have a different name for the moon every single night of the monthly cycle.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Thank God for the Hawaiian moon calendar.
Yeah.
But measuring the moon, the moon's position relative to the backdrop of stars with your own hand is a really nice way to get the somatic experience or somatic connection
Thank you.
with the monthly cycle.
Yeah, that's a good tool. And I want to bring it back to that connection, the moon. We are the moon. We're made of the same elements in different composition, right?
Right. Well, also the Earth and the Moon.
Right.
I know. I just heard this. This is a really interesting piece on Science Friday a few days ago, about 4.4 billion years ago, according to scientists' estimate. I don't know this personally. The Earth got hit by an object half its size, and a big hunk of the Earth got sliced off, and the hunk of the Earth that got sliced off is what we today call the Moon.
Yeah.
And what the scientist was explaining on Science Friday the other day is the collision was so horrific that it just became molten. I mean, you can imagine that, the impact, something half the size of the Earth hitting the Earth. And so the Earth and the Moon, what we call the Earth and the Moon today, were once just a single molten glob that split in two, but they're really the same thing. I don't know if I'm making any sense here.
Yeah, and I remember decades ago when I was told, the moon is coming home, the Earth is reaching out, coming together. And I'm going to bring it back to our bodies for a moment.
Right.
We're coming home to our bodies more and more.
Yes,
the sun, the moon, the tides. And as we stay in the natural flow as much as possible, and that is really hard when you've got a job or you've got a bunch of kids and dogs and all of that kind of thing. How do you navigate this life?
Right.
But when I say that, we are facing a time where there isn't going to be other options.
Right.
So we just as well do it as much as we can.
Yes.
And then consider that concept that enough is enough. Someone contacted me this morning and they said, how do you how do you not just work all the time with your clients? And I said, I make sure that my phone is turned off.
Mm-hmm.
People know that, this is when you can reach me. And then go if I need to places where my phone doesn't work.
Right.
Right?
Right.
To get back into the rhythm. And I think about the kids on the beach. Turn your phones off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool to have taking pictures and things like that. But what is really what we all need is connection.
Yes.
And photos are great. They're great memories, but they will never forget an interaction. A child will never forget that.
Interesting. Right. Wow, that's beautiful. Also, you said the rhythm. That feels really important. Because one of the things that popped in my head when you were talking about the rhythm is, and this is in connection with the rhythmical relationship between the earth and the sun. The earth has a relationship with the moon, but the earth also has a rhythmical relationship with the sun. And there's a difference between clock noon and nature's noon. Most people aren't aware that there's a difference between clock noon and nature's noon, but your body is aware of it.
Yes, it is.
Because there's trillions of cells, hundreds of trillions of cells in the human body. The only reason you don't have hundreds of trillions of selves is because they're all synchronized to the cycle of the sun. The master body clock keeps all the cells marching to the same drummer, so to speak, and the drummer is the cycle of the sun. Okay, there's also the cycle of the moon, but the cycle of the sun is easier to see. And I think last week or sometime in the recent past, you and I were talking about the fact that because of this rhythmical relationship between our bodies and the sun, when that relationship is disrupted because you hop on a jet plane and you go to some whole other part of the world, you get jet lag. Okay?
Yeah.
But that same kind of jet lag happens because of the way we're living our lives.
Yes.
Okay. Recently, American Scientist magazine, the cover story on there was called Social Jet Lag, because even if you don't hop on a plane, just the way we schedule our lives is so out of sync with the cycle of the sun that people have social jet lag, which, I don't need to go into all the details of that, but the fact that it was a cover story, and the really important thing, going back to your word rhythm, is when we get out of sync with the solar cycle, or when we're experiencing social jet lag, the way to get back in sync, there's two places in the cycle where the body can get back in sync and can reset, and those are dawn and dusk. So if you are outside at dawn and you're outside at dusk, and you actually, the light is entering your eyes, entering your body, and if you're doing the whoop, the movement, you can get back in sync with the rhythm of life. So that feels really important. And another thing in terms of getting back in sync with the rhythm is just notice the difference between nature's noon and clock noon. Nature's noon is easy to see if you just pay attention to shadows.
Right.
You don't want to look directly at the sun because it hurts your eyes to look directly at the sun. But you can certainly pay attention to shadows. And if you're paying attention to the shadow of a vertical object, you see that all morning long, the shadow of a vertical object is getting shorter. And all afternoon, the shadow, and when I say afternoon, I mean after nature's noon, not clock noon. All morning, the shadow of a vertical object is getting shorter. All afternoon, the shadow of a vertical object is getting longer. And the other thing that people don't really pay attention to, because we don't look around at nature very much anymore, is all morning, the shadow is pointing toward the west. All afternoon, the shadow is pointing toward the east.
I didn't know that. Cool.
And if you watch the way the shadow moves over the course of the day, you'll see it moves in a clockwise direction, because our original clocks were the shadows of vertical objects.
Wow.
That's where the word clockwise comes from, is the movement of a shadow over the course of a day.
Huh.
In the northern hemisphere anyway, because that's where clocks were invented. But so nature's noon is when the shadow shifts from reaching toward the west to reaching toward the east. And it's a simple thing to watch. I mean, you can just stand there and watch your own shadow, or you can, put a chopstick in the dirt.
Right.
Or the other thing I like to do is, that's fun for children. If you don't happen to have, I have my shadow stick. You've seen me travel around with my shadow stick, my bamboo pole. But if you don't happen to have a shadow stick that fits into a wooden base like I have, you can just put a toilet plunger, and it's a toilet plunger won't move. The suction will keep it there, and then you can watch the shadow, and it makes a perfectly good natural clock.
And we used one time on one of our walks, we just used a rock.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
This is where we started, and this is where we came around to, right? You can see the shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important that we look at our shadow. And most importantly, though, I think is that, especially in these times, is to slow down.
Yes.
Find a rhythm that isn't set by the success of those, them, they, right? And I use the term, take them out, take they out, and put you back in.
Oh, I see what you're, okay,
Yeah.
yes. Find your own rhythm.
Find your own rhythm. And as we do that, I know when I'm in a really good place, the people around me are in a much better place too. Fix it inside, it fixes it on the outside, right?
Right.
And then think about what benefits would come from doing something like that. Our blood pressure would be better. There'd be more awareness of our food and what the food is doing. One of my mentors, she said, you drink your food and you chew your water. So spending the time chewing your food so much that it's liquid.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. Okay, took me a minute. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
And then chew your water. Don't give the water. You chew the water. Have that relationship with the food.
Right.
And I guarantee you, as we do that, and if we eat the rainbow every day, the different colors in the rainbow, in the foods, then your body will do exactly what a rainbow does. It just shines and it connects and that's happened at a cellular level as well, right?
Yes, I see what you're saying. No, I like that. I like that expression because it took me a moment, but then when I got it, I was like,
Yeah.
Also, you reminded me of something when you were talking there. This goes back to the shadow, but it's related to what you just said. When your own shadow is shorter than you are, that's when you can get skin cancer.
Lost me.
Well, the shadow is short when the sun is high in the sky. The higher the sun is, the shorter the shadow is.
Okay, got
The
it.
relationship between light and shadow is a huge part of the nature of our nature.
Yeah.
The relationship between light and shadow, yeah. So when the sun is high in the sky, our shadow is short. When the sun is low in the sky, our shadow is long. And you often hear dermatologists telling people, put on sunscreen at certain times of the day, but they're giving you clock times. And clock times are not the same thing as nature's time. Nature's time is about light and shadow.
Yeah.
Anyway, I recently learned that if your shadow is shorter than you are, that's when you're susceptible to skin cancer.
That makes sense.
And it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I just love it because all you have to do is look.
Right. But in order to look means that you need to slow down, maybe even stop, and look around, and be aware, breathe, connect, notice where your feet are, notice that your feet are connected to your legs, and your legs connected to your torso to the neck and the head, and the arms are connected. And as we have those awarenesses, there's a side effect, very strong side effect, and that is that we are healthier.
Right.
We are happier. We are more at peace.
Yes, because your body isn't looking at a clock. Your body is looking at light and shadow.
Yeah.
Or look may not be the right word, but help me out here.
Experiencing.
Experience, yeah.
Yeah.
Your body's having the experience of light and shadow. It's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to pick this thing up and see.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to pull this all together. So today we were talking about how words have lost their soul. And today we were using some terms, somatic terms, that actually will bring it back. Words will have that essence of soul.
Mm-hmm.
But in your body, every cell is communicating with another cell.
Mm.
Your bones, your
Right.
your epithelial cells, they're all communicating. And they do that without our, we don't even have to do anything, right? But
Right.
when there's discomfort, that is the body saying, we're out of balance. Out of balance.
It's feedback. It's not
Yeah,
just
it's
something to get
feedback.
rid of.
Mhm.
Right.
And so how do we adjust that? Maybe it's sitting more straight,
Mm-hmm.
or strengthening, pulling back our shoulders maybe. And we pull back our shoulders, and then there's more room for the lungs to breathe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And if we have breath, we have life. Yeah. As with breath is life.
Yes.
So here, I want to thank you for coming today. We always cover so much and so many fun things, and we could talk for hours and hours. So thank you all for joining us on The Nature of Your Nature. Come home to you no more. We're grateful, and we'll see you again. Oh, hooey ho.
Own livestock, you have until December 31st of this year to re-register.